Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Fero TV featuring ICS College. On our first episode of podcast, we will be discussing matters health. So the main theme here is mental health, and I'm here with my colleague who is a mental health expert. Maybe if you just tell us your name and where you're coming from.
Hello, my name is Katam. I am an advocate on matters pertaining mental health and issues pertaining generally the social welfare and social well-being of our society. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Mr. Okay, first, as we start, we'll describe mental health. Would you please tell us what is mental health?
Okay, thank you, Ruth, for that question. When we talk about mental health, it has to do with the well-being of matters pertaining the mental processes of an individual, issues to do with the ability of an individual to collect his or her own ideas, to put them together, and to reason with a clear mind, soberly, away from the distractions, because we understand that there are constant distractions in life, challenges, finances, and all that. So the ability to be able to keep that composure and to make decisions on the basis of being clear and away from any distractions.
Yeah, thank you. So what are some of the types of mental health disorders?
There are a lot of different types of disorders. They are caused also by different factors, but some of the most common that we are currently, most people are aware of, even those people back at home in the village, things like depression, things like stress. These are some of the most popular, some of the most common. So depression, which is caused by extreme levels of stress. There are other severe forms like psychosis, which is caused by cases of drug abuse. Cases, they can also be biological or genetic. There's something like schizophrenia, and the like. So these are just some of the examples of types. Also something like anxiety. There are people who have anxiety disorders, and an example is a panic attack. You get to a new environment and people experience some form of panic. There are also things like eating disorders. This is very common amongst especially ladies, that when someone is going through something, they tend to overeat just as a way of coping with stress, getting too attached, over expecting from someone something that they may not be able to meet. So in the process of expecting too much, or having these complications or entanglements that come with relationships, then you're very likely from cases like cheating. Cases like it's almost Valentine, you're expecting someone to buy you something and they don't do that, so you start getting too worried, that you're not maybe good enough.
So we can also say family conflicts, they can also cause stress. Also say family conflicts, they can also cause stresses.
Yeah, that is also true. Of course, background is a very crucial matter, because the background from which you come from shapes your personality. And personality is one of the biggest factors that shapes how you perceive other people, how you interpret life, and how you make meaning of life. So background is very, very crucial. If you grow up in an environment where you encounter those ones, it affects how you perceive. If you are a lady and you encounter your father beating up your mother, how you perceive men, of course, will change. So family background is also key.
Okay, you'll be like, I don't like men because my father used to beat my mother.
It happens. It's a very common thing. You end up disliking men or you dislike women because of how you saw your mother or your father being treated.
So what are some of the effects of these health disorders or
So as we've listed some of these mental health disorders, they have a lot of effects. And the biggest, of course, is loss of life. You find that in the extreme cases, things like schizophrenia, cases like depression, people end up committing suicide. People kill themselves. In extreme cases, you find someone wipes out the entire family, you kill the wife or kill the husband, and also kill maybe the children. Another effect, we have dysfunctional families. You find that families break up they split because of issues of depression. Because you find someone who, as a way of coping with stress, they end up indulging too much in alcohol. Yeah, so families begin to separate and the likes. So mental health disorders and mental health as a whole is a very big issue, and it has a lot of effects in society. Whereby these people that you are looking up to, you find that most of them have issues. So these people that are supposed to be role models, you find that they're battling demons inside of them. And some of these most very influential people, they end up committing suicide. And you wonder, this is someone that I looked up to. But it's something that can happen to anyone, whether someone from a low-class family or someone who's very wealthy and successful also.
So how can you cope with all these mental health issues? How can you cope with them?
There are a lot of campaigns that are being done currently. There are a lot of activists who are pushing the agenda and advocating towards mental health, especially for men. Because if you look at mental health, mostly, not that it doesn't affect women or it only affects men, but if you look at its effects and the toll it has on the different genders, if you compare men and women are better at coping with stress and different mental issues because of the ability to open up. I think culture is a very big contributing factor. Men do not like to open up as it's perceived as a sign of weakness. So how do we then begin to cope? One of the most basic and the most important things that people can do is talking to people. There are a lot of counseling psychologists, there are a lot of psychologists, there are people who are in practice. So if you're feeling that you're going through something, and not necessarily people that you need to pay, for example, in a hospital, even religious leaders, pastor, if you go to the mosque, you'll find imams who you can talk to. A religion is very close to people, so talking to someone is the most basic steps. In some cases, you find that medication is counseling is not enough. So in cases that someone, for example, has bipolar, which is one of the mental health conditions, you need to supplement it with medication. People who have extreme mental health conditions, they're given medication by psychologists in hospitals, so they have to couple up counseling as well as medication in order to boost things like bipolar, where you have fluctuation of moods. You take medication to be able to boost your mood and such cases. So counseling, taking medication, keeping yourself occupied and finding a purpose, because you end up being stressed, depressed, and such conditions because of lack of purpose and value in life. So keeping yourself occupied is also very crucial.
So we can also say there are some people who will never want to share their issues with anyone. Like, for example, your parents are so strict and then you have some issues with you don't want to talk to them. There are some people who prefer, if you have any problem, you just listen to loud music. Those can also help,
of course, there's no right way to cope or to deal with stress, depression, or other health conditions of the mind. Of course, there are different strategies. There are people, for example, who prefer to go for morning runs. There are people who prefer to listen to music, as you say. There are people who prefer, to go to church. There are people who are not close, or they're not spiritual, or they're not close to God. So they prefer to do other things. But essentially, whatever you do, you make sure that you're also doing something that is not hurting you. Because, for example, abusing drugs, alcohol, as a way of coping with stress, it does not help. But as long as it's something that is productive and it's something that doesn't harm you, then it's still very fine.
So, medically, how can we treat mental health?
Medically, just as I said, one of the coping mechanisms for mental health conditions is administering medicine. So there are different kinds of medication depending on with the condition. For example, people that have bipolar, people that have schizophrenia, psychosis. These are conditions that can never be treated by only counseling, because it can be extreme. Someone can actually lose his or her mind. So in these cases, you are given a dosage, just like you would be given if you're suffering from malaria. And it's good that you're asking that question, because it's an indicator that mental health is actually a serious thing. People treat mental health as if it's not a medical condition. The fact that drug dosage is administered is a clear indicator that it is actually a disease.
Okay, so to clear up on mental health, what would you tell the audience, the youths watching out there? What would you tell them?
Yeah. So thank you for that, Ruth. What I would want to tell maybe the youths that are watching this, I would want to say that mental health is a serious thing. This is something that we face. The friends that we stay around, the different people that live around us, they can be going through a tough time, but you can never see, you can never tell. At times it's buried in their personality. Someone we've seen even recent cases of someone who is smiling, someone who is jovial and bubbly, and the next day they wake up and you hear that they died of suicide.
Yeah.
So I would want to tell you that it's important to be close to your friends, have a close cycle whereby you can be able to share. If you're going through something, share with someone else. In extreme cases, you feel like your friends are not helping, go to your pastor, go to your imam, talk to your parents, talk to your mentors, and in the event that you feel that it's extreme cases of addiction and such, like, it's important, and I would advise that you go and see a professional psychologist so that they guide you, whether they link you up with a doctor or someone that is an expert regarding mental health.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. That is all we had for you today on mental health. See you next time on Fero TV. We'll be focusing on another business. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at Fero TV Kenya. Thank you.